Today I'm taking you inside a story you've likely heard, but maybe haven't sat with like this, not as a headline, not as a scandal, but as a series of moments where something could have gone differently. This is what happened inside Uber through the lived experience of Susan Fowler, because this isn't just about one company. It's about leadership, it's about HR, and the exact point where organisations stop being human first and start protecting something else. So as you listen, hold this question. What would I have done in that moment? Welcome to Hard at Work with me, Trina Sunday. This space is for HR leaders who care deeply about performance and equally deeply about people. For more than 25 years, I've been asking one persistent question. What are the real conditions for happiness at work? Because when humans come first, something deeper shifts. How people show up, how leaders decide, and how work feels. Here, we explore what it really takes to lead with courage, compassion, and clarity, and we pull up a chair to the conversations HR leaders don't always get to have. There's heart here, but there's also depth. If you're ready to build workplaces where people and performance thrive side by side, you're in the right place. Let's get to the heart of it. Let me take you somewhere, into a moment. You've just started a new job. It's the kind of role you've worked really hard for. A respected company, fast-moving, high-performing. The kind of place people talk about like it's shaping the future. You've chosen your team carefully, you're excited about the work, you're ready to contribute. And then, on what is effectively your first proper day with your manager, a message comes through. Not about work, not about onboarding. He starts talking about his personal life, about being in an open relationship, and how his girlfriend finds partners easily, but he doesn't. And how he's trying to stay out of trouble at work, but it's difficult, you know? And it doesn't take long before you realise what's happening. This isn't awkward small talk, it's a proposition. And I want to pause here because this is the moment most people rush past, right? This is the first signal. Before HR, before process, before escalation, this is the moment that your body registers that something's off. And if you've ever been in a situation like that, you will know exactly what I mean. That split second while you're recalibrating, where your brain's trying to catch up with what's just happened and you're asking yourself, wait, did that really just happen? That's how Susan Fowler's experience began at Uber. Not gradually, immediately, day one. And she didn't ignore it. She doesn't minimize it. She doesn't try to rationalize it away. She does exactly what we tell people to do. She documents it, takes screenshots, captures the evidence, and she reports it to HR. And if you're listening to this as a HR leader, I want you to really sit in this moment because this is the moment that your function exists for. This is the moment the system is meant to work. This is the moment where trust is either built or broken. She walks into that conversation with clear, documented, undeniable evidence. And HR agrees with her. They explicitly say, yes, this is sexual harassment. So let's pause there. No ambiguity, right? There's no grey area. There's no misunderstanding. The organisation knows exactly what this is. And then something happens that changes everything. Instead of action, the conversation shifts away from her experience and towards him, his high performance, his value to the company, his future that might be compromised. And she's told something that sounds almost reasonable until you hear it. You know, like he's a high performer. This is his first offence. They don't want to damage his career. And then she's given a choice. You can stay on the team, continue working with him, knowing, and this is explicitly acknowledged, that he will likely retaliate through a poor performance review, or she can leave, start again, give up the work she was hired to do, and go. Now, if we slow this right down, because this is one of those moments where organisations tell you exactly who they are, but not in the way that you think they are, what would I have expected to happen here? Like, honestly, immediate action. That's what, like clear boundaries, protection of the employee who reported, a signal, loud and unmissable, that this behaviour is not acceptable. Instead, what happens is far more subtle and far more damaging. The responsibility shifts from the person who created the situation to the person who reported it. And she pushes back because she's not unreasonable. She explains that she's got specific expertise that the team needs, that the company needs. She was hired for a reason, and that moving teams is not neutral. It has real consequences. But she's told again, these are your options. And one HR rep reframes it in a way that to this day is incredibly telling. If she receives a poor performance review later, it wouldn't actually be retaliation because she was given a choice. And this is where language becomes powerful. Choice. It sounds fair, balanced, reasonable, but it isn't, because a real choice doesn't come with punishment attached to it. So Susan moves teams. Not because she wants to, because she has to. And for a moment, things stabilise. She finds another team, she's doing awesome work, and she rebuilds some sense of normality. And then something else starts happening. Conversations. Quiet at first, with other women in the organisation. And slowly, a pattern emerges. They've had similar experiences with the same manager. Not one, not two, multiple. Some had reported him before she even joined the organisation. So sit with that, because this is where the story fundamentally shifts, right? This is no longer a misunderstanding. This is no longer a first offence. This is a pattern, a known pattern, a documented pattern. So she goes back to HR, but this time not alone. There's multiple voices, multiple accounts, a clear, consistent story. And this is the moment where you expect the system to correct itself. This is where someone would say, we've got it wrong, we need to act here. But instead, HR tells us something that completely destabilises everything. There are no other reports. No one else has complained. There is no record of this behaviour. Even though she is literally speaking to the people who have reported it, even though those reports exist, even though the pattern is real. And this is the moment where something deeper breaks, because now it's not just inaction, it's denial. And when an organisation denies a known pattern, what it's really doing is asking the individual to question their own reality. And I want to say this clearly. When the system rewrites what's real, trust doesn't erode, it outright disappears. And from there, things do not improve. They evolve, but not in a good way. She continues to raise concerns. And now the focus shifts. She's told she's being unprofessional for documenting things, that escalating via email is inappropriate, that she should be more careful. Like, just notice that. The behaviour hasn't changed, but the problem has. Now, the issue is her. And this is one of the most dangerous patterns that I see in organisations. When documenting problems becomes the problem, you're no longer solving anything, you're protecting the system. And while all of this is happening, the broader culture starts to reveal itself. Leadership dynamics at Uber are competitive, not collaborative. The managers are undermining each other. People are even withholding information to gain advantage and bragging about it. Projects are getting abandoned and priorities are shifting constantly. It's unstable, it's not predictable. And if you zoom out, you start to see it really clearly. This isn't one bad manager. This is a system where power is protected and accountability is optional. And then there's a moment that on the surface might look small, but I think that it says everything. The leather jackets. There's a team tradition at Uber where new hires receive leather jackets. They're symbolic. People wear them, they signal belonging. So when Susan joins as an engineer, she, along with everyone else, is asked for her size. There's a form, coordination, participation. And this is important because in that moment, something subtle happens. An expectation is created. Not just that she'll receive a jacket, but that she's included, that she's part of the royal we. So time passes, the jackets arrive, the boxes come in, people are gathering. There's an energy, right? There's a vibe. People are trying them on, comparing sizes, wearing them around the office. And then she realises something. The men receive jackets. The women don't. Not delayed, not coming later, just not included. And this is when the moment lands because she remembers giving her size. She remembers being a part of that process. So this isn't an oversight that she was never a part of. This is a decision made after inclusion's already been implied. And so she asks the question, what happened? And the answer's almost casual. There weren't enough women to justify placing an order. And I want you to sit with that because no one stopped and said, hang on, we asked them for their sizes. No one said, oh, this won't feel right. No one adjusted. They just removed them from the outcome. And this is where the emotional contract breaks. Inclusion was implied, participation was invited, and then quietly it was withdrawn. So Susan pushes back, calmly, logically, reasonably, but women are part of the team. They contribute equally. This is easily fixed. What would I have expected? Yep, we missed that. Let's fix it. That's it. Instead, resistance, delay, a lack of urgency, and eventually the conversation turns. She's asked whether she'd considered maybe that she might be the problem. And that's where the pattern becomes undeniable. Raise an issue, become the issue. And shortly after, it escalates again. Her manager tells her that she's on thin ice, that she's raising concerns, documenting things, and that it could get her fired. There's no ambiguity. It's a warning. So she reports it again. And this time, HR acknowledges something important. They recognise that what's happened is inappropriate, even illegal. And for a moment, you think, this is where it changes. But it doesn't. Nothing changes. No accountability, no consequence, no shift. And that's the moment when the system fully reveals itself. Within a week, she leaves. Not because she couldn't do the job. She was an exceptional engineer. But the environment made it impossible for her to stay. And then she writes about it. And when she does, it doesn't just circulate, it explodes. And from an executive perspective, this is where everything shifts. Because what was once internal becomes visible. And what follows is not a culture conversation. It's an enterprise risk event. Uber launches an independent investigation led by Eric Holder. Over 20 employees are terminated. Senior executives exit, and ultimately the CEO, Travis Kalanick, resigns. That doesn't happen lightly. Like, this is board-level intervention. And if you look at this through an executive lens, this is not just about culture. This is reputational risk, talent risk, governance failure, legal exposure, investor confidence. And none of it started with a headline. It started with a moment, a report, a decision not to act, another report, another decision, a pattern ignored, and over time, those moments compound into risk. And culture risk is not soft risk. It is cumulative risk. And this is the part I really want to land, because this story is not confronting because it's extreme. It's confronting because it's familiar, because versions of this play out every day. Not always this overt and not always this documented, but in moments, small moments where something is seen and not acted on, where something is reported and minimised, where something is known and ignored. And over time, these moments compound, and that's how culture's built or broken. And this is why I care so deeply about this work, because human first leadership is not about intention. It's about what happens in the moments. When the pressure hits, when power is involved, when decisions have consequences. That's when culture is written. So the question isn't what went wrong at Uber. The question is, when that moment shows up in your organisation, when someone walks into your office with evidence, when something doesn't sit right, when you have an opportunity to act, what will you do? Because human first workplaces don't happen by accident. They're created in the moments where we choose courage over comfort. And that, my friends, is hard work. And if you're sitting with this story and recognising moments in your own organisation, moments where something didn't sit right, where something was raised but not fully explored, and where leadership conversations stayed at the surface. This is exactly where my strategic advisory work begins, not in the theory. It's in the real conversations that organisations often avoid. Because what I do is create space for leadership teams and HR leaders to step into those moments, safely, honestly, and with clarity. Through facilitated sessions, real-world storytelling like this, and deeply practical dialogue. It's all about the chat. We unpack what's actually happening inside your organisation. Where's the culture being shaped in real time? Where is risk quietly building? And where does leadership have an opportunity to act differently? It's interactive, it's grounded, and it is designed to move beyond awareness into action. So if this conversation has sparked something for you, not just interest, but recognition, you'll find more about my strategic advisory work at trinasunday.com. Because these conversations don't belong in a podcast. They belong in the rooms where decisions are made. Thanks for spending time with me. If this conversation challenged you, clarified something, or simply reminded you that you're not the only one holding the tension between people and performance, then it's done exactly what it was meant to. This work isn't easy, but it is necessary. HR has a new future, and it leads with heart. So if you found value here, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Share this episode with someone who also believes that work can be better. And if you want to go deeper, you can explore the Heartwork model, the programs, and the growing community of HR leaders at trinasunday.com. Because when HR leads with clarity, courage, and compassion, it doesn't just change workplaces, it changes lives. Until next time, keep asking better questions, keep backing your voice, and keep putting humanity at the center of performance. Let's keep heart at work.